right?
We have plenty of room if we don't get anything bigger than that.
If I got something bigger, I can still shift over. There's plenty of room. Okay?
If the table will fit. That's tomorrow's.
Tomorrow's Mishugas.
If go to the.
Yeah. I got to take the frame, bring it over here. Then I can
All
go
right,
like,
I
You
am
gotta take
muting
pictures too.
everybody just so that we don't have the background um, sounds that sometimes can make it hard to hear. And we're going to get started. So, once again, I'm so glad that all of you are here. Good Shabbos to everyone. Let's just take a moment to take a step away from whatever's been going on this week into Shabbat and consciously think about the space that we are, even though we're not together in the same physical space, that our space is a space of community and a holy place, that each of us is in a holy place. A place, and holy in the Torah, of course, means separate. So we're now in a place that is separate from where we are throughout the rest of the week. So if you need to take a deep breath and let it out and breathe out tension in your body, if you need to shake anything out, stretch any parts of you. We begin. If you have a prayer book, we're on page 126. I begin with a prayer of gratitude for all that is holy in my life. God needs no words, no English or Hebrew, no semantics, and no services. But I need them. Through prayer, I can sense my inner strength, my inner purpose, my inner joy, my capacity to love. As I reach upward in prayer, I sense these qualities in my Creator. To love God is to love each other, to work to make our lives better. To love God is to love the world God created and to work to perfect it. To love God is to love dreams of peace and joy that illumine all of us and to bring that vision to life. Candles. I don't know if anybody was invited to do candles this week or agreed to do candles this week. Is anybody here for that purpose? And if not, does anybody have candles handy that you would like to do the blessings for us? Anybody have your candles nearby? Gail! Gail, please do the honor.
Okay.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'chad likner l'chad likner shel Shabbat.
Amen. We continue with the Kiddush. Alan, you usually are prepared for the Kiddush. Would you like to do the Kiddush?
Let me just move the the gallery so I can read the screen.
Sure.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Borei peri hagafen. Praise to you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, creator of the fruit of the vine. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who finding favor with us, sanctified us with mitzvot. In love and favor, you made the holy Shabbat our heritage as a reminder of the work of creation. As first among our sacred days, it recalls the exodus from Egypt. You chose us and set us apart from the peoples. In love and favor, you have given us your holy Shabbat as an inheritance. Praise to you, Adonai, who sanctifieth Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh haShabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech olam barei, pri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech olam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu. Shabbat kodsho be'ahavo v'ratzon inchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom tehillah lemikra kodesh, zeicher letziat Mitzrayim. Kivanu v'chata, yatanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, v'shabbat kodshecha, be'ahava v'ratzon, hinachaltanu, baruch atah Adonai, mikadesh Shabbat. Amen.
We continue with Lecha Dodi, the poem that invites us to turn to one another and say, "Beloved, come with me to greet the Shabbat bride." And indeed, we imagine the Shabbat to be like a bride that is coming into our homes to bring joy and beauty to our Shabbat.
Lecha dodi likrat Chala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. 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 Shamo v'zacho b'dibor echad, Yishmi anu eham yochad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, L'shem ol tiferet v'litihila. Lecha dodi, lecha dodi likrat Chala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat Chala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki hi mekor haberacha, berosh mikedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh b'machshavat tchila. Lecha dodi, lecha dodi likrat Chala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat Chala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Hitorei, ki vorech kumi ori, uri shir daberi, kevod Adonai alayich nigla. Lecha dodi likrat Chala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat Chala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam b'simcha u'v'tzola, toch imunei am segula. Boi chala, lechan dodi likrat Chala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. נחתתי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקרלה.
We continue with the Baruch Hu. If you have a prayer book, it's on page 146, and I invite you, if you're able, to rise.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamevarach. Baruch Adonai hamevarach le'olam va'ed.
I invite you to read with me. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tsevaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim.
אהבת עולם בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו, בשוכבנו וקומנו, נשיח בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך, ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי כן חיינו באורך ימינו, ובהם נגי יומם ולילה.
ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. We continue with the Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuta Leolam Va'ed.
Let's be seated.
Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני Elohim.
I invite you to read with me. We're on page 156 if you have a prayer book. All this we hold to be true and trustworthy for us. You alone are our God, and we are Israel, your people. You are our sovereign and Savior who delivers us from oppressors' hands and saves us from tyrants' fists. You work wonders without number, marvels beyond count. You give us life and steady our footsteps. You performed miracles for us before Pharaoh, signs and wonders in the land of the Egyptians. You led your people Israel out from their midst to freedom for all time. When your children witnessed your dominance, they praised your name in gratitude, and they accepted your sovereignty. Moses, Miriam, and all Israel sang to you together, lifting their voices joyously.
Micha mocha bailim Adonai, Micha mocha nida bakodesh, Micha mo, Micha mocha bailim Adonai, Micha mocha nida bakodesh, noradi lot osifele, noradi lot osifele, Micha mocha bailim Adonai, Micha mocha nidar bakodesh, Adonai imloch leolam vahed, Adonai imloch leolam vahed, Micha mocha bailim Adonai, Micha mocha nidar bakodesh.
V'ne'emar ki fada Adonai et Yaakov, ugalo miyad chazak mimenu, Baruch ata Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. Page 161 in the prayer book. Give us a place to rest, Adonai, our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, hapurei sukat shalom, Aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
We have come to the Tafilah in the prayer book. It begins on page 164, and I invite you, if you're able, to rise.
Adonai שפתי תפתח, ופי יגיד תהילתך. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Yalalai, lai, lai, yalalai, lai, lai, yalalai, lai, lai, yalalai, lai, lai. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohi Avoteinu v'Imoteinu, Elohi Avraham, Elohi Yitzchak, v'Elohi Yaakov, Elohi Sarah, Elohi Rivka, Elohi Rachel, v'Elohi Leah, Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה מלך עוזר מושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם עזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מחכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומידון מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך הסלע. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Let's be seated. In the prayer book, we are on page 173, and I invite you to read with me. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day, and may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, Mikadesh HaShabbat. You are with us in our prayer, our love, and our doubt, in our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still, clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers. There may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otcha levadcha b'yir'ah na'avod. We have come now to Modim, our prayer of thanks. And so I'd like to, it's our custom that we offer the prayers of our hearts, the thanks of our hearts at this moment in this service. So I'd like to invite you, if there's anything that you're grateful for today, to add it in the chat. If you would prefer to say it out loud, you may do that as well. You can either unmute yourself and I can call on you, or if you want to electronically raise your hand, because I can't see everybody at the same time. So if you just raise your hand like on the screen, I might not see you. or as I said, you can put it in the chat. I am grateful this week that during the big snowstorm that we had, I didn't have to go anywhere. In fact, my car is still not out of the driveway. So let's see. Linda Kushner Silverman is grateful for getting fellows to shovel the snow, and they did a great job. I'm grateful for that too. Somebody shoveled my snow as well. Jessica Schulman is thankful for successful cataract surgery. All right, Jessie. That's excellent. I know for a lot of people, cataract surgery makes a really dramatic difference. So modim anachnu lach for that. And I see Jessie nodding. Karen is grateful that her partner and she were able to get their first dose of the COVID vaccine today. That's great. Modim anachnu lach. They're coming in fast and it's hopping around for me. Okay. Linda Kushner Silverman also had a mani-pedi today, so she is feeling coiffed and good. So modim anachnu lach for the ability to have that. Somebody else whose name is not in their name, whose name is guest. So if you're actually a guest, welcome. It's Gerard. That's who it is. He's a family member, a Bashert member. But Gerard is grateful for successfully digging his car out from the snowdrift. Excellent. Charlotte is grateful for kindness shown by her neighbor who volunteered to take her to her vaccination, which is next week. So modim anachnu lach for helpful neighbors. Gail and Bob, actually it's Gail. Gail says she is grateful for being with her department at the college on a Zoom meeting today. She has not seen many of those folks in many months. Eslyn removed a bridge from her mouth today, and she is grateful that there is no pain and it just feels strange. So we are grateful for that as well. Roseanne broke several days of confinement by taking a walk 5 times around the block. So modim anachnu lach for the ability to walk and to do that. Mona.
I'm very grateful to a neighbor who doesn't live next door to me. The house is empty, but he came and he shoveled my steps and made a path for me and said to me he worried about me because he knows I'm all alone. And there was no physical way for me to have done what he did. And I'm very grateful for that.
Modim anachnu lach. A snowstorm is one of those times when we really are so grateful for the help that we sometimes get from our neighbors. Gail and Bob.
Yes, it's Bob. We ordered from Perry's Diner dinner for this evening. We got on the phone at about 6:20, and at 7:40, the food had still not been delivered. I called and they apologized, saying that they were crazy busy. I was very grateful for that.
Grateful that they were busy?
Yes,
okay.
Restaurants are having such a difficult time.
Restaurants are having a very difficult time. So great. So that's really wonderful to feel grateful, even though your food was delayed, that the restaurant is doing well.
It was delivered toward the end of the poetry hour.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you got it. Ruth.
Yes, actually, I'm grateful for not being in too much pain after doing a lot of shoveling and digging out the car. And also, I'm grateful that we were able to drive my dog over to the dog run in the park. So he ran around, had a ball, got rid of all that excess energy from being cooped up all week. Grateful for my health. And grateful to be here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. Modim anachnu lach for all of that, for those of us who have pets in our lives and being able to get out of the house and being able to do physical labor. and not being in too much pain after having done that. Absolutely. Let's see. I'm going back to the chat. Nathan Schrader is grateful for the dentist appointment that he had, where the verdict was all good, no cavities. So that's excellent. And Robert Rothman is grateful to the CDC for being the CDC. Uh, yes, indeed. Anybody else? All right. So much to be grateful for, even in times when it's not so obvious that there's a lot to be grateful for. So that's one of the things Shabbat can do for us is give us some perspective by inviting us to cultivate our gratitude. Baruch atah Adonai hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh lehodot. We continue with our prayer for peace. In the prayer book, it's page 178.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amacha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata melech adon lechol hashalom ki ata melech adon lechol hashalom shalom rav al Yisrael Amacha Tasim leolam v'tov be'enecha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol et ובכל שעה בשלומך שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם.
Baruch atah Adonai hamivarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. We now continue quietly. If you have a prayer book, there are words on pages 180 and 181. There are words on the screen if you can see those. And of course, we can always use the words that are in our own hearts. We continue quietly.
May the words of my mouth, O Lord, and the meditations of my heart be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. Amen.
We turn our thoughts now to those among us and those in our hearts who are ill, and who are in need of healing of body, of mind, or of spirit. If you have names of anyone for whom you are praying for healing this evening, I'd like to invite you to put those in the chat. And I will also give you an opportunity, if you prefer, to add those names out loud. We hold in our thoughts and in our hearts for healing this evening Jesse Sakharov, Ira Weiss, Elaine Drucker, Allison Plummer, Patty Ann Cubero, Susan Sisler, Alan Fremer, Susan Balecki, Dana Haitkin Nelson, Arlene Rosenthal, Michael Luck, Barbara Weiner, Andy Glansman, Julie Falkowski, Amy Juskowitz Soonseller, Ira and Deanna Roth, Roz Borenstein, Susan Shoro, Irv Weiner, Eddie DeAngelis, Ira Goldman, Vicki Lightnaker, Nettie Trommer, Mia Gannon, Richie Stein, Jeff Abel, Harold Gleiberman, Suzanne Leknos, Florence Schoen, Jules Feldman, Esther Batlusi, Ted and Albert Galerntner, Joel Secundi, Iris Merlis, Maxine Breland, Ruth and Arthur Penn, Leslie Rogowski, Roz Zuckerman, Paul Kastick, Shirley Joseph, Teresa O'Sullivan, Jerry Taylor, Les Shanker, Katie Shanker, Dr. Jack Egnatinsky, Roberta Hayrath, Marilyn Birnbaum, Robin and Neil Parr, Ali Franklin, Stu Berman, Linda Goodman, Marlene Unterberger, Glenda Greenman, Freya Kashmir, Delphine Wolf, Roz Solomon, Joan Lifshitz, Ira Berkowitz, Stacy David and Wilma Mauser, Hannah Paines, Ralph Copperman, Christina Leknos, Linda Kushner Silverman, Bob Perlman. Helene Sink, Kay Banani, Danny Feinstein, Arlene Denmark, Yitzchak Yehoshua Ben Bela Devora, Ellen Sorkin, Jaxa and Tara Kushner, Stanley Tenon, David Gershon, Ronnie Katlowitz, Kirsten Holly Smith, Shelley Samet, Della Cohen, Karen Eichel, Joan Lifshitz, Suzanne Mishler Hernandez, Elliot Woofsey, Clinton Lewis, baby Gideon Ben Bree, baby Sophia Carlson. Who else has names that they would like to add? Anyone else?
May I say something about the two babies that I included?
You may indeed.
The grandparents of baby Gideon called me specially this week to thank all of us that they appreciate so much that we're praying for him. And both these families have very prominent ministers in their immediate, in the area here. So I just wanted to pass that on.
Okay, thank you for that. Ruth, did you want to add other names?
Yes, Liz Yasuda, Richard Zagam, Mark Paul and Connie Steiner, Monica Bayer, Patty and Erwin Cohen, Mimi Karp and Marion Mandel.
Thank you. Anyone else have any names they would like to add? Okay. We also include all of those who are currently suffering from COVID-19 or from the measures that have been taken to slow the spread of the virus, those who are unemployed right now, and struggling with how to make ends meet. We include them as well. We include all of those who have been wounded in service to our country or Israel, and those who have been hurt in recent disasters, both natural and human created.
Yisheberach Avotenu Mikor habracha Limotenu. May the source of strength who blessed the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misheberach Imotenu Mikor habracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Once again, it is good to be with you here. I know that some of you are here with us as guests perhaps for the first time or one of the first few times. And so we're so glad that you're here with us, even though we can't buttonhole you and ask you many, many questions about yourself and, all of the things that we would do if we were in person. So Shabbat Shalom. In this week's Torah portion, Yitro, we reach the beginning of the third month after the Exodus from Israel, and the Israelites arrive at Mount Sinai. Now, I haven't seen every movie about the Exodus, and in fact, the one that is most familiar probably to many of you, the Ten Commandments, I've never watched in its entirety. The movie that I love about the Exodus from Egypt is Steven Spielberg's animated Prince of Egypt. And in that movie, the giving of the commandments at Mount Sinai, which takes place in this week's Torah portion, Yitro, is presented as the denouement of the story of the Exodus. The climax is the parting of the sea and the Israelites crossing through, followed by the downfall of Pharaoh and the celebration by the Israelites. And it's really so beautifully done. But then the movie fades to Moses coming down Mount Sinai carrying tablets. Now, from what I know of the movie, The Ten Commandments, that covers the giving of the Torah at Mount Sinai more thoroughly, although I think it is also still not really the climax of the movie. But regardless of what Hollywood does with it, the experience at Mount Sinai is the climactic experience for the Israelites. They have seen the might and power of God in the 10 plagues and in the escape from Egypt. God has begun to feed them with miraculous manna and has provided them with water to drink. The importance of the moment at Sinai, though, is that it is the covenantal moment. This is where God, by giving the Torah, and the Israelites, by accepting the Torah, formally established the relationship between them, the relationship that God proclaims as, "You will be my people and I will be your God." In this week's Torah portion, God tells Moses to say to the Israelites, "You have seen what I did to the Egyptians, how I bore you on eagle's wings and brought you to me. Now then, if you will obey me faithfully and keep my covenant, you shall be my treasured possession among all the peoples. Indeed, all the earth is mine, but you shall be to me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation." It's not just the contract being made that makes this experience a climactic experience, a peak experience. God deliberately makes it that way by revealing God's self to the people, speaking to them directly and showing them God's raw power. Not this time in the service of destruction, as in the plagues, but simply what that power does when it's unleashed, even just a little bit. There's thunder, there's fire, the blare of the horn, even though nobody sees a horn anywhere. God tells Moses, I will come to you in a thick cloud in order that the people may hear when I speak with you and so trust you ever after. So God's purpose seems to be to impress upon the Israelites the realness of God and God's intention that Moses should be the communicator between them. The experience is overwhelming and terrifying for the Israelites. And maybe part of God's purpose was to show them why God doesn't speak to them directly all the time. The earth can't stand still when that happens. It's dangerous. It's frightening. Might be better to have a little distance. At almost the end of our Torah portion, after the 10 commandments have been given, we read, all the people witnessed the thunder and lightning, the blare of the horn, and the mountain smoking. And when the people saw it, they fell back and stood at a distance. You speak to us, they said to Moses, and we will obey, but let not God speak to us, lest we die. Moses answered the people, be not afraid, for God has come only in order to test you, and in order that the fear of God may ever be with you, so that you do not go astray. So that's actually a little different, right? That's a little different than the reason God gave Moses for appearing to the Israelites, which was so that they would listen to Moses and trust Moses as the leader that God chose for them. Mostly that purpose seems to have been achieved. The people do follow Moses. They do believe that God is speaking to them through him. And even when they rebel, the Israelites continue to trust that Moses is their leader and God's prophet. But Moses tells the people that God's appearance in this way is so that they would remain in awe of God and not go astray. But we know what comes after this, don't we? In the books of Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers, the people do go astray again and again and again. They lose trust in God. They rebel. They fall into idolatry. It's not all of them every time, but it does keep happening. The experience at Mount Sinai, as huge and incredible and momentous as it was, isn't enough to keep them consistently on the right path. And I think it's that way with us as well. The big experiences, good or bad, that we say will change us, rarely change us very much. In the days after the horrible terrorist attacks of September 11th, I heard a lot of people saying that this would change us forever, that it would unite us, that we would treat each other better forevermore. The first Friday evening after the attacks, my husband and I took our daughter, then a baby, to a packed Shabbat evening service, not at our temple, our current temple, and people shot us dirty looks when our baby made little noises. So much for treating each other better. And while we are perhaps different in terms of how we feel about our safety and security as a nation, our country is deeply divided and there's a lot of antagonism. We did not learn a lesson of unity from 9/11 that changed us, despite the momentousness of that day. Sometimes when people have near-death experiences, it does change them, but that experience too can recede into the past and old routines reassert themselves, and life is not so different than it was before. Last March, we experienced a different kind of huge experience. The COVID-19 pandemic descended and traumatized many of us, but it doesn't quite fit the same pattern as other overwhelming or traumatizing big moments because it wasn't just a moment. It hasn't ended yet. It's been a year. And for sure, that's still not such a long time in the grand scheme of things, but it sure has felt long enough that we've established new routines, at least for now. For most of us, our lives have been very different during the past year, so much so that I refer to I'm not the only one, but I refer to the time when things were normal as the before times. Ah, yes, in the before times. Other people do that too. Some people are discovering that the hectic pace of their lives before COVID doesn't have to be the way life is. And in spite of the hardship, they appreciate being able to slow down a little bit. The enforced togetherness of lockdown with those in our households has been both a challenge and a blessing to many who live with others. At the same time, not being able to see our dear ones who live in other households has been deeply painful. We are seeing the interconnectedness of people in a new way and recognizing who is essential in a time like this. When the pandemic ends, and with you, I pray that we will be able to bring it to an end soon, I wonder, will the lessons we have learned be quickly forgotten? Will we forget again that our choices affect many people outside of our own families? Will we remember who the people are who have been essential during this time? Or will we just go back to the way things were before? The big revelations, the big moments are not really what change us. If God appeared to us today, here, we would be moved and inspired in that moment, but it wouldn't necessarily and probably likely would not cause God or spirituality to infuse our lives in a lasting way. It's the other part of what was happening at Mount Sinai that has the ability to do that. It's the Torah and the practices and disciplines it gives us for our daily lives that have the potential to infuse our lives with the presence of the divine. The pandemic, this strange year, which of course in the end will be more than a year, of course, is somewhere in between the big revelation and the daily practice. A different way of living has been forced on us. And it's up to us to consider whether there are parts of that way of living we want to continue when we are able to return to a more normal life. This may be a time, an opportunity, if we haven't been doing so already, to think about what the place in our lives is for spirituality or God or connection to Judaism, connection to something greater than ourselves. As Reformed Jews, we have a lot of choices about what that means. Maybe we talk to God every day. Maybe it means reciting the Shema in the morning and at night. Maybe it means taking walks during which we consciously pay attention to the natural world. Or it means taking care of our bodies and our health and doing these things with the consciousness that we're doing them as mitzvot, as commandments, as service to God. If we want to have our lives infused with God or spirituality or connection to Judaism or anything that's greater than ourselves, that's not something that happens through momentary experiences, however powerful they might be. Those experiences can inspire us and can get us started, but it's the daily discipline, the daily practice, that is the thing that can change us. May we feel a sense of ongoing purpose in this world. May we find ways to feel connected to that which inspires and sustains us, however we understand what it is that we're trying to connect to. We might call it God or Judaism or the universe or the energy of the cosmos or something else. May we think about what we don't want to give up when we're able to reestablish a society more like it was before the pandemic. May the practices we choose and have chosen enrich our lives and enhance their meaning. Amen and Shabbat Shalom.
This piece that I'm going to sing is in honor of Black History Month. I recorded it today for the composer Mark Miller for a concert, and it was so beautiful that I thought I'd sing it tonight. It's called I Choose Love, and it was written in 2015 for for the people of Emmanuel AME Church and the 9 that were murdered that summer. The lyrics are by Lindy Thompson, and the music is by my friend Mark Miller. In the midst of pain, I choose love. In the midst of pain, I choose love. In the midst of pain, sorrow falling down like rain, I await the sun again. I choose love. I choose love. In the midst of war, I choose peace. In the midst of war, I choose peace. In the midst of war, hate and anger keeping score, I will seek the good once more. I choose peace. I choose peace. When my world falls down, I will rise. When my world falls down, I will rise. When my world falls down, explanations can't be found. I will climb to holy ground. I will rise. I will rise. In the midst of pain, I choose love. In the midst of pain, I choose love. In the midst of pain, sorrow falling down like rain, I await the sun again. I choose love. I choose love.
And when we think about choosing love, when we all are able to choose love, perhaps we will come to the time when all the world shall be one. The Aleinu, if you have a prayer book, begins on page 586, and I invite you, if you're able, to rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד ארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגבהי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו
Let's be seated. We turn our thoughts now to those who are no longer with us, our loved ones who have died in the past days or weeks or months, or in past years at this time of the year. The yard sites for this week are displayed on the screen. If you have names of anyone for whom you are saying the mourner's Kaddish that you did not send into the office, please add them in the chat, and I'll also give you an opportunity to add them at the end out loud if you prefer. We remember those who have died in the past year. Amy Zisovic, Mary Holland, Dorothy Webster, Robert Allen Santos Sr., Robert Bonenfant, Barry Strumpf, Dorothy Mason, Judy Panzer, Barry Ween, Charlotte Brown, David Schachter, Douglas Maines, Devorah Lewis, Tria Sapir, Jane Evans, Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs, Manny Pastor, Ruth Rubin, Harris Reese, Emerson Berger, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Carolyn McNamara, Marion McGivney, Ronnie Turek, Michaela Schaefer, Helen Zegerman Schwimmer, Ido Sheffy, Elaine Gordet, Dr. Stephen Kamholtz, Carol Gross, Carol Andre, Robert Serpico, Jeanette Riley, Melvin Barish, William Lamp, Ina Sandals, Martin Schenken, Solomon Tettelbaum, Howard Jankelowitz, Sean Singer, Jeff Harris, Sammy Berger, Rabbi Kenneth Roseman, Chaim Braunzweig, Harry Baylor, Benjamin W. Schaefer, Shirley Hyatt Tobias, Myron Klein, Ted Tobias, Rita Belay, Jay Jankelowitz, Sandy Gannon Abel, David Ribler, Bess Newman, Buzz Lorch, Benjamin Binyamin Elwood, Edward Albino, Joseph Davis, Cloris Leachman, Cecily Tyson, Henry Aaron, Larry King, Sonny Fox, Christopher Plummer. Rabbi Dr. Abraham Twersky, Taro Bong and Arlene Abels, Judy Epstein, Joyce Coward, Rosella Fields, Leah Trislanger, Inga Probetsky, Kevin McCarthy, Sal Bracco, Bayumi Mohammed, Amy Marcus, Rachel Cohen. Included on our yahrzeit list today are William Figueroa, Diane's brother-in-law, Leah Hyman, Grace Schneider's mother, Toby Kleinberg, Ellen Rothstein's aunt, Abraham Levitt, Roseanne Levitt's father, Stella Roth, Ira Roth's mother, Annie Sternberg, Jackie Udalowitz's grandmother, Hilda Steiner, Ruth Belay's mother, Leo Wang, Harvey Wang's father, and Herbert Winnower, Melody Winnower's father.
Rabbi?
Yes?
Last week, Maurice Chudnovsky, he was the father of 3 of my fellow youth groupers. And I think one of the greatest compliments we could say is the fact that since we did know him, it's because he was so involved in being with us at the temple. And he does have a plaque in the sanctuary. Yes, Maurice Chudnovsky.
Thank you. Mona says it's the yahrzeit for her sister-in-law, Ethel Davis, and Linda Kushner-Silverman adds Dorothy Samet. Anybody else? Any other names? Or if you want to tell us anything about anyone who's on our yahrzeit list, or anyone that you're saying the mourner's Kaddish for. Janice, unmute, please.
Unmute. Oh, hi. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes, I just wanted to say, my children's uncle, Bayumi Muhammad, was a very lovely man. He was visiting his children who are going to college here. He lives in Egypt, and he came for a visit, and he caught COVID-19, and he passed away last week. I just wanted to say that it's the first time I went to a Muslim funeral, and my son actually did the prayer for everybody, and it was really beautiful. And it actually, as we were saying, it started to snow, and it was just very peaceful. And may he rest in peace. Thank you.
Thanks, Janice. Does anyone else want to say anything else about anyone? Add any other names?
Yes, Rosella Fields was my student at Kingsborough. She passed away 2 days ago at age 103. She was an amazing person and a wonderful student.
Thank you, Gail. Anyone else? We also include all of those who have died from COVID-19. So many people. We include also those who have died from other causes around the world, whether war or famine or terror or disaster, or alone and homeless on the streets of our cities. If you have a prayer book, the Mourner's Kaddish is on page 598, and I invite you to rise and join in or to participate according to your own custom for the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach yirtei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'v'zman kariv v'yimru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yit hadar, v'yit alev, v'yit halal, shemei dekudasha, barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damir ran be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'el kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn, and comfort to the bereaved wherever they may be. And let us say, amen. Let's be seated.
Oseh shalom bimromav, Oyaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru ve'yimaru amin. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
A few announcements before we conclude our service. Purim is coming in less than 3 weeks. So we got to get a spiel together, friends. So tomorrow after services, I wouldn't usually do this on Shabbat, but really, we got to get this show on the road really quick. So tomorrow after services at 12:30, we'll have a planning meeting for the Purim spiel. A spiel, for anyone who doesn't know, is like a little comic play, often with parody songs and things to tell the Purim story. And we'll do that, and we'll do the Megillah reading on February 25th. But we're going to put together the spiel before that. So if you're interested in being involved with the spiel in any capacity, it will, of course, be on Zoom. So that's going to be a whole other, ball of wax. And come at 12:30 tomorrow after services so that we can do some organizing for that. Just use the link for the Shabbat morning service for that meeting, because we'll just do it after the service using that same link. Okay, so there is, before that tomorrow, religious school at 9:15. We'll have Biyachad at 9:45. That's when any adults are welcome to come, and I'll throw out a question and we'll all answer it, and we'll learn fascinating stories about each other. And then Shabbat services are at 11 a.m. On Sunday, February 7th, from 3 to 5 p.m. is the Pink Chala Bake. So you learn to make and braid challah, and while the challah is rising, you'll learn about breast and ovarian cancer awareness. So that's Pink Chala Bake at eventbrite.com. By the way, all of this is in the links email that I sent out yesterday to our members, and hopefully went out today to our friends who are not officially members, but who are on our friends list. Tuesday, February 9th, 1 p.m., afternoon Torah study with Rabbi Pinsky. And at 7:30 on that same Tuesday, the Women of Beshert, a sisterhood organization, will have as their speaker Sarah West, a very long time member and co-president of the organization. And that information, the Zoom information, will be sent out before the meeting. On Wednesday, February 10th at 7:15 p.m., there's an executive board meeting. Thursday, February 11th at 6:30 p.m. is gentle chair yoga and gentle qigong with meditation and Jewish wisdom, led by doctors Gail and Bob Levine-Fried. And then that same night, February 11th, from 7:30 to 9:30 p.m. is the Interfaith Coalition of Brooklyn Hey Neighbor sharing. There's been a series of workshops using applied theater techniques to explore questions of identity. And this is kind of the culmination of that. You can see what was discovered, you can have some fun. It's free. Registration is also on Eventbrite for that. And we're involved with that as part of the Interfaith Coalition of Brooklyn. Next Friday night, we will have poetry text study, as we usually do, at 7 p.m., followed by services at 8 p.m. Does anybody have any other announcements of anything that I forgot? Anybody? All righty. Very good. So we're going to end our service with a closing song, and it is Ein Adir. So I've put that on the screen.
Mi piel yevorach kol Yisrael, Ein Adir k'Adonai ve'ein baruch k'vein Amram, Ein gedola k'Torah ve'ein dashanecha k'Yisrael. Mi piel yevorach kol Yisrael, Ein Hadur k'Adonai ve'ein vatik k'vein Amram, Ein zaka k'Torah ve'ein chachamecha k'Yisrael. Mi piel yevorach kol Yisrael, Ein tahor k'Adonai ve'ein yachid k'vein Amram, Ein kabira k'Torah ואם למדנך כישראל, מפיאל ומפיאל, יבורך כל ישראל. אין פודק אדוני, ואין צדיק כבן עמרם, אין קדושה כתורה, ואין תומכך כישראל, מפיאל ומפיאל, יבורך כל ישראל, מפיאל ומפיאל, יבורך כל ישראל.
יברכך אדוני וישמרך. יאר אדוני פניו אליך ויחונך. יישא אדוני פניו אליך וישם לך Shalom. May God bless you and keep you. May God's face shine on you and be gracious to you. May God lift God's face towards you and give you peace. Amen. Shabbat